Chapter 6288. Jacob deliberately asked him, "Can't we just talk about it on the phone?" President Pei said in a humble tone, "Jacob, I know you must hate me in your heart. And I also know that I did a bastard job on this matter. I really want to make up to you as much as possible and try to make up for the mistakes I made. So I hope you can give me a chance. I won't take up too much of your time. 10 minutes is enough. I hope you will give me a chance because we have worked together for so long." Jacob deliberately kept silent for a moment, then sighed and said, Okay, I'll come out, you wait for me at the door." President Pei said excitedly, Okay. I'm already at the door, you can see me when you come out." "Okay." Jacob said this word and hung up the phone directly. Then he couldn't help but say to Charlie excitedly, "Good son-in-law, I'll go out to meet Conan, the old dog, and see how he is going to solve my problem." Charlie nodded and said, "Then you two can chat, I won't join in the fun." "Okay." Jacob said, "You don't have to follow. I'll go to see him by myself." After that, he got up, put on his coat, and walked out of the house. At this time, President Pei had also gotten out of the car. Before closing the car door, his wife Elma was still telling him, "Conan, remember, your attitude must be sincere enough and appropriately humble. As long as Jacob can be satisfied, we can do anything. The most important thing is to stabilize him and let him agree to return to the association." President Pei nodded and said, "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." After that, he closed the door and walked to the gate of Thompson Epeen's community. Jacob walked out of the house humming a little tune all the way, and only stopped humming when he was close to the gate. Then he touched his face to make sure that his facial muscles were in a drooping state, not a tense and upward state, and then walked out of the magnificent gate of the community. As soon as Jacob came out, he saw President Pei standing at the bottom of the stairs. When they met again, Jacob's hatred and anger towards President Pei were aroused again, and there was a knife in his eyes. The moment President Pei saw Jacob, his face was full of flattering smiles. Before Jacob walked down, he came up in 3 or 2 steps and grabbed Jacob's hand in the middle of the stairs and said with great shame, "Jacob, I'm sorry for you." Jacob naturally knew that the other party was just acting. So he said sarcastically, "President Pei, I have known you for so long, and this is the first time I found that you are actually a talented actor." President Pei blushed and said embarrassedly, "Jacob, I know you have a lot of dissatisfaction with me in your heart, and I will not hide it from you. It is true that I did not do that to you. But I swear to God that I really didn't intend to cheat you at the beginning. I really intended to reserve a position of director for you." At this point, President Pei made up his mind and said, "Hey, let me tell you the truth. The reason why this matter turned out to be different was all caused by my prodigal woman. She was the one who kept whispering in my ear, saying that if I helped you like this, I would definitely leave a bad impression on people. If I give you evidence and someone with ulterior motives uses it to make a big fuss, my own future may be affected. I was also too greedy. I thought that I had waited for so many years for an opportunity to be promoted. If I couldn't grasp it, my future might be completely ruined. That's why I decided to go against my promise to you temporarily." Jacob looked at him doubtfully and asked, "It's not appropriate for you to blame your wife for this kind of thing, right?" President Pei became anxious and said quickly, "How can this be called blaming others, Jacob? I swear on my life that I was purely bewitched by my narrow-sighted wife. If I lied to you, may God take me away tonight." Jacob finally believed President Pei's words 80%, and his anger subsided a lot. So, he waved his hand and said, "Okay. Let's not talk about this now. Just tell me what you want to talk to me about today." President Pei said hurriedly, "Jacob, I came to you for no other reason than to invite you back to our calligraphy and painting association. I have already secured the position of director that I promised you before. You can come back anytime and take up the position anytime." When Jacob heard this, his heart was completely relaxed. What he wanted was the position of director. He didn't dare to think about the position of executive vice president. But he was satisfied with the position of director. Now that he got the promise of President Pei, he naturally got what he wanted. However, he pretended to be unmoved on the surface and changed the subject to ask President Pei. President Pei, I think what your wife said is right. You are protecting me now, aren't you afraid that you will be affected by me? President Pei did not say that he had no hope of promotion, but said without hesitation, Jacob, people often say that when enemies come, they will be stopped by soldiers. And when water comes, it will be blocked by earth. If I am really affected by you, then I will find a way to minimize the impact at that time. I will solve the problem when it arises. And I can't be afraid of problems before they arise, don't you think? Jacob sighed and said with emotion, in fact, after all this trouble, I am too embarrassed to reply to the association again. When the time comes, these people will point fingers at you behind your back, which is not bad enough. President Pei held his hand tightly and said sincerely, don't worry, Jacob, I have communicated with all the senior executives today. They know what's going on and will never dare to point fingers at you. As for the others, I will also let them control their subordinates. When the time comes, you can go back and just treat the previous things as if they never happened. Don't worry about anything else. Jacob pondered for a moment, as if he had made an extremely difficult decision, and gritted his teeth and said, okay. Since you said so, then I will go back.